Hi everyone, Richard here, and welcome to centrally managing your Google Classrooms using Google Sheets and Data Studio. In today's workshop, we'll be looking at a number of features with Google Classroom that you can manage from a Google Sheet. But before we get started, let's go over the initial template and some information about permissions you will need in order to perform the functions that you see in this video. So first up, you'll want to initiate this template from a super admin account. I will put a link to force a copy of this Google Sheet template in the description of this YouTube video. And I've highlighted the tabs in red. Here are the functions that you should do with the super admin account. And then in this process, we will be establishing a Google Classroom admin, who is essentially a co-teacher that's enrolled in all of the classrooms. This will give us that functionality to post specific topics and announcements directly to classrooms from a Google Sheet, as well as list all of the active courses for that admin teacher to provide a easy access to all of the Google Classrooms through a list view using Data Studio. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is just make a copy of this template. Now with our copy, we'll notice one of the first things that will load next to the help menu is a custom menu. It may take a few minutes for it to appear. And here we have the Google Classroom tools. Now the very first time you want to use this template, so if we want to go ahead and create Google Classrooms, we're going to have to go through an authorization process. So you just go ahead and click through. It'll show you all of the permissions it needs to perform this function. Going to have to allow. And now you're ready to get started. So what we're going to do is essentially create one Google Classroom. We're going to assign an admin. We're going to enroll students. We're going to add a co-teacher, send an email to the guardians. We're going to list all of the classrooms. We'll then create a Data Studio database for the listed classrooms, and we'll publish topics to that course and an announcement. So that's a lot to accomplish in this video. So in the interest of time, we're just going to do one Google Classroom, but just know that you can iterate the data over multiple rows in here. So I'm simply going to start by now creating a course. So we'll call this Computer Science. We'll give it a description, Intro to Computer Science. Now with the section, this needs to be a unique piece of data. So it's always nice to append, for example, the academic year to the end of this data, and maybe even the teacher name. So maybe we'll call this CS 101 Anderson 2021-22. And we'll say the computer lab is in room 202. And I'm simply going to make myself the owner of, actually I'll make teacher 1 the owner of this course. And there you have it. So you just need to fill out columns A through E. Column F will auto-generate when we run the script. So let's go ahead and create that class and assign it or provision it to teacher 1. And there we have it. So if you had multiple classes, you would see a course ID per row of data. So we've now created this class, and we can actually check it out in our Teacher 1 Google Classroom. So let's go to Google Classroom. And we see here, yes, this computer science class has been generated by me, the super admin, and is waiting to be accepted by Teacher 1. So what I'm going to actually go ahead and do then, as Teacher 1, accept this course. And let's go back to the super admin account. So the next thing we want to do is create the Google Classroom admin account. This admin has no special powers other than being a co-teacher in every course. And I tend to create a service account within the Google Workspace to sort of be that space. And what this helps with is not having to deal with all of the email notifications every time there's an update to a class. It's literally just a way to access the content of a Google Classroom from an account that's not yours. So I'm going to put in the Classroom admin account here. And all of this needs is the course ID, which we created in this first tab, and then an email address for the Classroom admin. So just like in the previous step, I'm going to go right down the line with these steps here. Add admin account. Now the Classroom admin has been added. And I guess just if we want to confirm what we've done, we can go to the People's tab on this Teachers tab, and we see the Google Classroom admin has been added. Moving along, we now need to get some students into this class. So the way this works is we simply put in the name of the section that we're going to be enrolling the students in. So if we come back to our class here, I'm just going to copy this section. And as we put in the section, notice how the course ID is populated automatically. And of course, you could actually copy and paste this information very quickly to populate this. And then in column B, this is where we'll put in the email addresses of our students. So student 1, and I'm just going to make, or actually enroll 5 students into this class. Oops. 3, 4, and 5. So all of these students are going to be centrally enrolled into the Computer Science 101. So I come up to my menu, and I'm going to add students. We'll come back and add a co-teacher. Now this process does take some time, so if you have a lot of students, you may need to let this run till the execution time expires on the script, but it'll pick up where you left off if it happens to fail. So we've now enrolled our students, and again, let's go back and we can see them all now in our class. And as I said before, we're going to actually add a co-teacher, and the co-teacher is similar to the process that's used to add the classroom admin. But in this way, we'll simply click. This will auto-generate a drop-down list of our sections. So you can just select the section you want to add a co-teacher to. It'll auto-populate the course ID based on the formula that's right here in cell B1. And now we're going to add teacher 2 as a co-teacher of this course. So let's go ahead and do add the co-teachers. And the co-teacher has been added. Now, of these functions that are available within this template is we can also remove students from a class. So the way that works is on the student tab, we see there's a status here of being enrolled or removing. So let's say we've had a last minute change and student 5 is no longer a student in this course. I can simply set the status to remove. Then I can go back to our menu and select remove students. Removing the student will set the status to unenrolled. And if we look inside our classroom now, we will notice that student 5 has been removed from that class. Moving on to the next function are working with the guardians. So as long as the teachers, the Google Classroom teachers, are official teachers in your domain, you can enable the invite guardians feature, and you can do this for your teachers through this sheet in the template. So I'm going ahead and just going to create a guardian here. So I'll just use one of the other teacher accounts in here. So as you may have noticed, there's a query here that lists all of the students from your Students tab, right? And they may appear here more than once because they may be enrolled in several classes. But when we invite the guardians, we only want them to appear one time. Hence, we've got this query unique function. And then, of course, we want to align the parent or the guardian email address with the student email address. And we would do this twice, once for each guardian. So that's why there's two tabs here at the bottom. So one for guardian 1 and one for guardian 2. So let's go ahead and add these guardians. Invite guardian 1. And as you see in the status column, it says invited. This confirms that the email has been sent to that individual, asking them to confirm that they are indeed the guardian of that student and would like to receive the auto-generated guardian summaries. Now, what happens if you've already have guardians that are already connected to students in here? So let's just delete the status column here. I want to show you what happens with that. So it will tell you if you've already invited them or not. So there's no worries if you think they're already connected. So it'll just let you know if they've already been invited. So we won't repeat that for step 2. Just know that it's the exact same process for Guardian 1 as Guardian 2. Now we've moved on to one of the yellow tabs here, and this is where you would actually want to share this Google Sheet with the classroom admin account that you created. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that account. I can then open up that exact same Google Sheet in the classroom admin account, right? So we're going to work with these yellow tabs with this account. And the first thing we want to do is list all of the classrooms that this Google Classroom admin has access to. Now you're going to see more classrooms than I just created here because I've used this classroom account before in creating templates for this purpose. So when I see this update the active classroom list, this function here is connected to this tab right here. And when I run it, in addition, we're going to have to authorize, just like we did with the very first, with the super admin account, we need to again authorize the script before we can run its functions. So now when I run update active classroom lists, it'll list all of the classrooms that I have access to. It'll give me an update on their status and whatnot. So you can see here is the one we just created in this workshop. So it gives you some helpful information. Enrollment code. There's an icon for the Google Classroom. So when you build your data studio, we will use that to make it look nice. But that's all the information there. Now, from this account, we can also post a topic directly from the spreadsheet into that Google Classroom. So let's just select our section as we've done in previous steps, and let's just create a topic. Algorithms. What are they? Now, to push this out to that specific class, I can simply do add class topics, and it says the topic has been created. In a similar fashion, we can publish announcements to the course as well using the classroom admin account as well. So we would select the section, it'll auto-populate the course ID, reminder, field trip tomorrow, bring forms, and lunch. So if I had multiple classes, I would be sure that all of the sections that I'm taking are just generated down. I can copy or I can drag down this column to add more classes to select from, and it'll auto-populate the course ID, and then I can just copy down the same message into the other ones, and then I can run the send announcements, and it's been sent. So again, if we go back to that teacher class, and look at the stream, I see here reminder field trip tomorrow, bring forms and lunch. So there you have it. We've gone through all of the features of this particular template for managing and creating your Google Classrooms via Google Sheet, and now we'll look at creating the Data Studio sheet that goes along with this process. Now, to conclude this workshop, we will explore creating a list view of our Google Classrooms using Data Studio. We want to take a quick note of our data here. The Data Studio is going to be connected to the Class Status tab. And we have a template located here. I will share a link to this template in the description of this YouTube video as well, because we will be making a copy of that to speed things up. So if you haven't logged into Data Studio in the past, you'll need to first log in. It'll ask you a couple of questions, and then you'll have to authorize it to work with your Google Drive and Google Sheets in order to create a new report. So once you've done that, you can come back to this template and you can click on the three dots to make a copy. And then you'll want to choose, you want to create a new data source. We go into Google Sheet, and we're going to choose the copy of the new Google Classroom Creator template. So that is the same sheet as this one. And then we want to be sure we are selecting the Class Status tab, because this is the one that has all of the fields we want to generate that report with. And then we will hit Connect. And we will see that it has all of the fields that are necessary for us to build our report. I'm going to click Copy the report. And notice now we have our data. And this was the Google Classroom we recreated in the earlier process. You'll notice that there's an icon here in this one, and this one does not have an icon. So we will need to create the icon link in order to make this a hyperlink. And that's really the only thing we need to do with this Data Studio setup. So the way we create that icon is we can click on our data source, and we can come down on the lower right hand side where it says add a field, and let's just call this one classroom icon. And what we can do is just take the word image, and then we know we have an image URL as an available field, so we can put that in there. You get the green check mark, and that tells you that your data is valid, and we can save it. And then click Done. If you notice errors as you're adjusting and modifying data, one thing you can simply do is just reload the page, and it'll reconnect. So you'll notice here now we have this classroom icon, and I can actually drag it over, and this gives us the image, but it's not linked to anything yet. This is simply just the image. So the additional field that we need to create is the hyperlink to the actual Google Classroom on this image. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the icon, and I'm going to add another field, and I'm going to call this one classroom link. And again, these can be renamed once they show up as in the display name. In fact, let me just call this one GC link, Google Classroom link. And now we want to choose the function hyperlink. And now we want to find the URL for our classroom, which is here, comma, and then the image that we just added, the classroom icon, will be our label. So once we get the green check mark, we can hit save. And then done. And if we don't see it here in our available fields, again, you can reload the page. It does take sometimes a moment or two for the calculated fields to show in your data. And here is our GC link. So I can actually put this right in front of my class. And there I have it. And I can make it smaller simply by making the columns, adjusting the size. And all of the color options and sort of the look and feel can all be done via the Style tab. It's pretty intuitive, but you can play around there. So in the end, now if we go to the view access mode, this is what your database would look like. So you can go to, if you want to see just the class we recently created, and now we can actually hyperlink, we can go right to it. So you can imagine having lots of classes and being able to quickly locate the one you want to get into and explore. So there you have it. That's how you create the list view for Google Classroom classes in Data Studio. I hope you've enjoyed this workshop, and if there are other workflows you are interested in, please check out my website at richardaanderson.org to see if I can help. Thanks for watching. Bye.